Welcome to Jersey Line. Pat O'Neill here, the pro football prognosticator who didn't do a very good job of prognosticating last week. Worst week I ever had. I went 3-11. It was awful. I was losing. The spread was kicking my butt. I got my butt handed to me last week. But I had a big cushion. I was like 15, 16 games over 500, so I'm still over 500, just not 15, 16 games. So I have to make that up this week. Got some COVID issues with the Frisco. We'll get into that. Thursday night game. It's a Fan Duel game. Green Bay at San Francisco. San Francisco is in a walking infirmary. They are starting. Jimmy G's out. Kittle's out. Most of their team is out. They had to close the practice facility this week for COVID-19. Green Bay is coming off a terrible loss. And that's what's happening with Green Bay. They're super hot and super cold. I'm hoping Aaron Rodgers comes back angry and beats up a depleted San Francisco team. The line is Green Bay -6. I'm taking Aaron Rodgers -6 points. 1 o'clock game. Seattle at Buffalo. Should have went with Seattle last week, but I didn't. I went with San Francisco. Think I learned my lesson? No. 1 o'clock game. We got Seattle at Buffalo. I'm going with Russell. I'm taking Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks -2.5, and that's a Fan Duel game. 1 o'clock game. Denver at Atlanta. I took the Chargers against Denver last week. Didn't work out well for me. I'm going to take Atlanta this week. -3.5. The game's at Atlanta. Atlanta -3.5. I think that's the bet. I think it is anyway. After last week, I'm not sure anymore. 1 o'clock game. Fan Duel. Chicago at Tennessee. Tennessee let me down last week. Two good teams I liked last week. Cincinnati and Tennessee, they were playing each other. I went the wrong way. I took Tennessee. Figured they'd be upset after being beaten by Pittsburgh. Guess they weren't upset enough. But I'm going to ride with Tennessee again this week. Tennessee versus Chicago. Tennessee -5.5. 1 o'clock game. Detroit at Minnesota. It's hard to figure Detroit. What a hot and cold team. Matthew Stafford is in COVID right now. Looks like he's going to play, but he's in COVID-19 protocols. I'm going to go with Minnesota. Really don't like either of them, but I'll go with Minnesota -4. 1 o'clock game, Fan Duel. Baltimore at Indianapolis. The only game I won last week was Pittsburgh versus Baltimore. I'm going with Baltimore this week. I'm going to figure they are angry, and they are good. They're one of the top 5 teams in the NFL. I'm going to take Baltimore -2.5 versus Indianapolis. 1 o'clock game. Carolina at Kansas City. One of the few games I won last week was Kansas City, and it was against the Jets. It was 19.5, and they covered. I'm going to go with KC again, -10.5 versus Carolina. 1 o'clock game. Houston at Jacksonville. This is the game Houston should win. Jacksonville, they are starting their 6th-round draft choice, a kid I never even heard of. He's getting the start. Go with Houston, -7 versus Jacksonville. My New York Giants, I got the white on, I'm traveling, are at Washington. Giants, I had Tampa Bay Monday night with the points, 10.5. Lost. Giants fought them good. I'm looking for the Giants to fight Washington even stronger. So I'm going to take Giants, and I'm getting 3 points. I'm taking my Giants, and I'm getting 3 versus Washington. 4 o'clock game. We got the Chargers at Raiders, the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm going to go with the Chargers. I think their Hibbert kid is a good quarterback. I think the Chargers are a team we're going to be looking at next year. I'm taking the Chargers, -1.5. 4 o'clock game. Pittsburgh at Dallas. Pittsburgh is going to run through Dallas. I'm not even sure who. I think Dallas is starting Cooper Rush. Somebody just started. They just signed this week. It's an ex-Cowboy quarterback from a couple of years ago. They're starting him this week. So go with Pittsburgh, lay to 13.5. 8 o'clock game, New Orleans at Tampa Bay. You know, Tampa Bay didn't look that good last week against the Giants. They certainly didn't cover the spread. They won. And that was kind of iffy. Danny Dimes turned the ball over a few times. But I'm going to go with New Orleans. I think Drew Brees is far more formidable than Daniel Jones. I'm going to go with New Orleans and I'm getting 5.5. Monday night, New England versus the Jets. New England, they're rebuilding, but they're going to rebuild quick in New England, unlike the New York Football Jets. I'm going to take New England -7. Bet with your head. If you got a problem, don't watch football. You got a betting problem, you had a betting problem if you betted with me last week, that's for sure. Bet with your head. Don't bet a lot of money. You'll be good. You'll be safe. Let's have a good week of football. Good night.